What's up, guys? This is Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down something I feel all wide receivers need to know. So I hope this video helps you guys out. Hope we could teach you a few new things. But also, fellas, if you're a wide receiver and you guys would like to train with us this offseason, we're going to be traveling out to 14 more states for 2-day-long QB and wide receiver training camp. So we already had our camp in San Francisco. Our next camp will be in Orlando. That camp is unfortunately sold out. But then we'll be coming out to Phoenix, Arizona, Charlotte, Dallas, the DMV, St. Louis, Honolulu, Boston, Cleveland, Austin, Seattle, Newark, Denver, and Los Angeles, California. So if you guys are local to one of those cities, would like to work with myself and my staff of coaches, we'll fly out, work with you guys for 8 hours total. Check out that very first link in the description below. Let's get started with this video. So now, first things first that I want to talk about to you guys, and I feel not enough wide receivers know this, is when to use different moves and how to structure your routes by knowing how to read a defense. So many wide receivers can't read coverages. They can't read DBs. They don't know what they are doing. They just walk up to the line and just go run a route. But there is a technique to it. There is an art to running routes, and that's what I want to discuss with you today. So let's look at this first example here from Justin Jefferson. He's running this like bend or post route, right? Now, he has outside leverage coverage, right? He has outside leverage. So why is this DB outside leverage number one? He's outside leverage to prevent the outside route. That is the number one thing that you have to know coming up to the line. You got to identify what the DB's leverage is. So we come up to the line, what's his leverage? Now, it could vary, right? He could be outside leverage 5 yards away like this. He could be outside leverage 8 to 10 yards away, almost like in a zone coverage concept if you're like the outside wide receiver. He could be outside shade pressed up right on the line. But regardless of how close or how far he is, his coverage responsibility does not change. He's pressed up, only giving you a yard of space, but he's outside shade. He's trying to prevent the outside. He's 5 yards off, giving you some cushion, but he's outside shade, trying to prevent the outside route. So he wants to take away the out, the corner, the fade, the comeback. Take away all that, force you to the inside. Now, why would he want to force you to the inside? This is another thing that we have to understand based on his coverage. He's outside leverage. He's trying to force me inside because he probably has help over there. So if I'm running a post, he's completely fine with me just taking off and running a post because I'm going to run right into the safety. So as a wide receiver, all of those things that I just identified based on understanding his leverage is how I am going to structure my route. Literally, his leverage is the key to running routes. You got to understand how the DB plays, and that's how we structure my route. So you see how when Jefferson comes off the ball here, he runs up vertical. Now, he very easily could just take off and run. But remember, we have safety help to the inside. So to run this bender, to run this post, we need to give my quarterback a big window to be able to hit me. So what do you think we want to do? We want to threaten his leverage. When we have a route that goes away from the leverage, so I'm talking a post route, a dig route, a curl route, and he's outside leverage, we want to threaten his leverage. We want to attack his leverage. Now, if I have a route when he's inside shade, and let's say I'm running a post, we're going to talk about that in a second, okay? But he's outside leverage. When you have a route away from the leverage, let's try to threaten him. Because the reason why we want to do that is that's the only way to get him to move. Everybody loves to talk about, oh, I broke that DB. Oh, I got him on this route. I got him on this fake. But the only reason we get him on a fake is because we're threatening him where he doesn't want me to go. So I'm running an out route. Or I'm running, a 10-yard post, 12-yard bender, whatever it is. I want to threaten him like I'm doing a 10-yard out, 12-yard corner. Something that's going to get him to hold because now I got a bigger window. If I just took off and run in this specific scenario like Jefferson did and I just rounded it off, running right into that safety. So understand, fellas, the leverage is the key to understanding your route. The leverage is the key to having that plan off the line. Just like how when he's inside shade, where's his help? The sideline. And we're going to talk about that in the next example. So let's play this full speed. Great job by Jefferson attacking leverage and creating a bigger window for that quarterback. So now, before we talk about inside leverage, how you guys can run like inside breaking routes versus inside leverage, I want to talk a little bit about zone coverage. So just because it's zone doesn't mean that our responsibility based on the leverage of the DB changes. So if this DB is in zone, and he is outside shade, though, because, again, a DB has to show a shade. He's either going to be inside shade, he's either going to be head up, or he's going to be lined up to the outside. Fellas, the same thing applies. Now, in zone, it's a little bit different when he's inside shade. You don't really see that too often. But remember, zone, he's probably outside shade, and when it's zone coverage, like let's say it's cover 3 or cover 4, what does he have inside? Safety help, right? Whether it's one safety or two safeties, he has help to the inside. So it's the same principles. Just because his coverage changed, just because his alignment changed and his eyes are in the backfield and he looks like he's going to pedal out of there right on the snap, nothing changes with how I have to run my route. So what Gabe Davis is going to be running here is like a stop route. So I would consider that kind of an inside breaking route because you're turning to the inside. So remember, we talked about this with the post. Let's play this full speed. What are you supposed to do? Attack his leverage, widen him, then put the brakes on so we can get some separation. That's all you have to do, fellas. People overcomplicate routes. It is quite simple. You have to understand the leverage of the DB. The leverage is how you structure the route. I can't get that point across to you guys enough, but not enough wide receivers know this. Everybody loves to talk about the drills. Everybody loves to show the different drills that you can do. But how do I apply those drills into a live game situation? You see how Davis, and again, it's snowing, so he's probably cold as hell, and it's probably very tough to move. But again, especially when you're playing in conditions like this, he's not going to probably have the best snap down, the best hip drop. But how do I actually use a hip drop? How do I actually drop into a break? It's this situation. He comes off the ball, he goes and attacks his blind spot. That's attacking his leverage. He threatens the blind spot. He's outside leverage and in zone. So what does he not want to give up? The fade. So we're trying to make him think that we're just going to run around him. Let's get to his blind spot because that is what's going to widen him. That's what's going to get him on his horse, get him to think fade, and then we put the brakes on. So that violent hip drop that we all know and love to work all the drills for it. That's how we apply it in a game scenario. If you can't apply it in a game scenario, you shouldn't be doing it. Let's play this thing again, full speed. So again, fellas, remember, when it comes to reading coverages, when it comes to picking a plan off of your route, the DB's leverage is the first thing we need to identify. I come up to the line, what is his leverage and what is his responsibility? Let's play this full speed. Great job by Davis getting to that blind spot, being able to get separation even without the most explosive break. So now, let's talk about the same thing, okay? So he's outside shade and press, right? And I promise you we're going to be talking about inside shade in a second. But he's outside shade and press. So remember what we talked about. And I want to show this example because Van Jefferson is going to be running a curl route. Now, this is like the plan that you want to have, right? So we talk a lot about leverage. Why is he lined up in a certain leverage? So pre-snap, we diagnose he's outside leverage. Already automatically know. We've talked about it a million times just in this video alone, trying to prevent the outside release. So he's running like a 12 back to 10-yard curl. So I'm going to talk to you about a plan that you want to have. So if he's outside shade and press, and I have to run that 12 back to 10-yard curl, my goal with press is taking the inside release, getting as skinny as possible, not restacking, and then snapping this thing off, but getting him to think fade. So with my release, I have to threaten his leverage because that's the only way he's going to move. Inside release, get skinny, and snap it off. So let's play at full speed. That's exactly what he does. Now, why wouldn't he restack on this? I want to ask you guys that. Why wouldn't he stack over the top and get to the point where where this DB is like completely trailing his back hip to where he's here? Because if you're running a curl, you're running a comeback, and you snap down and you drop your hips, what's the problem with that? The problem with that is that he's gonna run right into you. You gotta have a plan. So remember, based on the leverage of the DB, that is how you structure the plan for your route. So like, let's say for example, we had to run like a post. Let's say it's a post. Instead of a curl, let's say it's a post. Would you do anything different right here? No, you would not. You would do the exact same thing. You would attack his leverage outside. You would take the inside release. You would try to get skinny, but we could restack it. Because again, it's easy for me to just throw a cut outside and break. I don't have to slow down. I can hit that with speed. I call it a speed cut, right? But if I'm running a curl and I drop my hips at the break point, this guy's going to run right into me because I'm not selling anything when I drop my hips. And on a curl, on a comeback, you can't just one cut it. You have to drop your hips. Whether it's 2 steps, whether it's 5 steps, you have to drop your hips. So that's why he doesn't restack him, but he keeps him right on his inside hip. So he's getting skinny. He's not getting rerouted way to the inside. Because remember, when he's outside shade and press, what does he have inside? He's got help inside. So if we're running that curl, we're running that comeback, maybe with an outside release, make sure we don't restack, fellas. It's all about having a plan. The plan should not change, fellas. It really shouldn't. When it comes to off the line, like you can use different releases. Hell, I want you to use different releases. Not a million different releases, but it should be relatively similar. If you're running a post, you're running a dig, you're running a curl, it should all be relatively the same as to how you structure the route. Let's attack him and get skinny. Attack him, hold him outside, threaten his leverage, then let's go get skinny. Let's play this thing again, full speed one more time. Great job by Jefferson attacking him, taking that inside release, and then snapping this thing right off. So now I want to talk about this example here. This is Stefon Diggs. Now again, I told you we were going to talk a little bit about inside shade press. So when I have inside shade press, this is outside shade press, but this turns into bail. But if I have inside shade press, right, and this DB's line up inside here, what is he trying to prevent? He's trying to prevent the inside route. So when it comes down to press coverage, obviously, like we just mentioned in the last example, outside shade press, he's running a curl. Obviously, we need to focus on stacking or getting skinny because it sets up the move that I have at the top of the route. In my opinion, there are 3 moves that we can use at the top of the break that can get you success. Well, I mean, there's more than 3 moves, but like 3 general concepts. Number 1, restacking. If you take an inside release or an outside release, you could restack. Number 2, a throw-by move. And we're going to talk about how to use that. Number 3, get a lean. I call it like a chicken wing move where you lean into the DB at the break point and then you break it off. Those 3 are pretty much all we really can do, if I'm being honest with you, and being successful. And that's all you really ever see NFL guys do. You don't see them doing the fancy stuff. You don't see them doing the hip twist in the middle of the route. It's simple because timing matters when you're at this type of level. So if you were to have, like, let's play this example full speed of what Diggs does. Tax leverage, and he does that lean technique, right? He gets skinny. Now, imagine here. Let's say you see what he does off the line. He attacks DB's leverage outside, takes the inside release. He would do the exact same thing if he had to run a 10-yard out or if he had to run a corner. He would attack his leverage and take the inside release. It does not matter, fellas. It does not matter what release or what I should rephrase that. It does not matter what route we have. We should be able to take an inside or an outside release, unless it's like a mandatory outside release situation. So if he were to have inside shade press and he were to run this post, what do you think he would do? He would attack his leverage inside, work the DB off the platform, then take the outside release and either stack or we're running hip to hip and we throw him by. We put our inside hand on the back of his shoulder or the back of his hip and slip under it. Fellas, it's all about having a plan. And when it's against press coverage, we just got to know to attack the leverage. That's part of the plan. And then have a game plan at the top of the break. Off the line should be simple. My goal is to keep timing and keep spacing on the play. Me getting skinny is how I can lean this DB off to the outside and then go. But now imagine because he's getting skinny and getting into his frame and there's not this big gap between the two of them, do you think he could run a 10-yard out from here? Absolutely, because what could he do? Because now he got skinny. He didn't attack his leverage and then run away from him, running into the safety help. He got skinny, so that sets him up to do what? That sets him up to do a throw-by. He could put this hand on the back of his shoulder, back of his hip, and slip under him all day long because he got skinny. So fellas, understand. Inside shade press, outside shade press. We need to attack that leverage, threaten it, get comfortable with whatever release we have, and make sure we are getting skinny. Because you're either going to end up restacking, you're either going to end up leaning, or you're going to end up throwing by. Let's play this thing again, full speed one more time. Great job by Diggs attacking leverage, taking that inside release, and then using that lean to create separation. All right, fellas, really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you guys have any questions at all, don't hesitate to leave those in the comment section below. We always appreciate the feedback. It's always great to hear from you guys. And again, fellas, we are going to be traveling out to 14 more states for 2-day-long QB and wide receiver training camps. Orlando, Florida is where we'll be next. That camp is unfortunately sold out, but then we'll be coming out to Phoenix, Arizona. That is a new addition, and the rest of the states on this list. So check out that very first link below if interested, fellas. I'll see you guys next time.